Hello, Ramley, another NFL family payout time here. Your Canadian Rams fan, and doing a reaction to this epic ramble by Jourdan Rodrigue, one of the best Rams reporters on the planet, in the galaxy. Just Jourdan makes me a better Rams fan. Like, I am so thankful for the hard work that she does, and she appears on so many podcasts, and she nerds out about the Rams, and I love it. But this one, she has an epic rant about the historical significance that a lot of people maybe aren't paying attention to with this Rams Eagles game. So let's get into it. I'm going to react to it. I'm not going to show the whole thing, of course. Go watch the full episode from the Heed the Call podcast because they're doing good stuff over there. But this is just Jourdan Rodrigue's epic ramble, and just listen in.
I don't think people actually understand like how dramatically Vic Fangio like pretty much inadvertently altered the course of the league, and like a lot of life timelines involved. This and mine included actually. And Whoa. This game between then the Vic Fangio coached Chicago Bears and the Los Angeles Rams in 2018 in week 14, they held the Rams to 6 points in a year that in which they were, I mean, look at that. If you're watching on YouTube.
For the record, I still am frustrated about that game, and because it did lead to the Rams Super Bowl loss to the Patriots that year, and Jourdan points out.
To look at the score discrepancies where they're just double digit blowing out other opponents. And then all of a sudden this game that nobody watched happens, and everybody wrote it off at the time as like this postseason run, like fall game. Like maybe the Rams were just like checked out, preserving themselves for the playoffs at that time, especially that late in the year. But it wasn't. It changed everything. The way that Vic Fangio played the Rams was getting a wider aligned defensive front with an extra player than normal to cut off the middle and the outside zone. That really propelled the Rams run game that other teams were starting to adapt at that time. And then sometimes make Jared Goff, the extra guy, sometimes make Jared Goff imagine there was pressure that wasn't actually there. And then the coverages that he used matched down out of a shell in order to swallow up those trademark 3 receiver route combinations that McVay was just spamming against opponents at an unprecedented rate at the time. And then Bill Belichick and Brian Flores were probably the only ones watching that game after it happened. And they did the unimaginable, a feat to this day that people I don't think appreciate enough. They changed their entire defensive scheme over the course of 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl to mirror elements of Vic Fangio's. And we know this has been talked about, of course, but it leads to the Rams just getting embarrassed in the Super Bowl, and Sean McVay, the wonderkind head coach, like sitting despondent and like unreachable in his hotel room. And then it started getting copied by everyone else. And then all the changes that were happening across the league, everybody copying McVay, and that reaching a saturation point, and this seeming like the answer. Everybody, the McVay copy trend was happening. And you have to understand, like, that game was the reason why, and that Chicago game that nobody watched was the reason why he brought in a new defensive coordinator to run Vic Fangio's defense, which everybody copied then too, to the point of, again, oversaturation. It was the reason he traded Jared Goff away for Matthew Stafford. It was the reason he won a Super Bowl. It was the reason he hit rock bottom in 2022 on a personal level. And it was the reason he burned out after reaching the mountaintop and like seeing higher mountains around him once he got there. And this is the first year that Sean McVay has faced off against Brian Flores with Matthew Stafford, the quarterback who is the catalytic answer to this entire problem that Vic Fangio created for Sean McVay. And the Rams put up 30 points on Thursday Night Football against Brian Flores' defense and won. This will also be the first time that Sean McVay will face off against Vic Fangio with Matthew Stafford. And like everything changed when nobody was looking, you guys. And like, these shots at redemption are now unfolding in front of everybody. It's all happening in prime time. And it's like it altered the course of several people's lives, including Jared Goff, who's thriving now in his new home, including Matthew Stafford, who finally got out of Detroit and won the Super Bowl, including Sean McVay, whose teams now are tougher than they ever used to be because he hit rock bottom and then climbed out of it. Flawed people got better, and flawed teams got better and problem solved, and people worked their way out of their flawed situation. So this is the best goddamn sport in the world because one game that nobody watched and nobody cared about changed the course of like several people's schematic, philosophical, and life timelines. And we get to watch them collide again in completely different planets than what they used to be on Sunday night. And I was talking to Darius Williams about this the other day at practice. And, you know, he's one of the few players that had been there through the entire thing and kind of watched almost from the sidelines because he was buried on the depth chart at the time. As everything started to happen and all of the little intersecting timelines started unfolding course after course after course. And we just started laughing because it's so freaking beautiful that in football, everything is a piece of everything else and it rules. Okay, I'm done.
You know, that's called making the most of your ramble.
Yeah. Ramble card.
I'll leave it there. I encourage you to go check out the Heed the Call podcast. Link in the description below. But just to react to it, my thoughts here. Jourdan, well done. Well done. Wow. I remember that Bears game. I was one of the people that watched that game. And I remember being frustrated at it. And I remember when they lost the Super Bowl, the heartbreak and the annoying church Super Bowl party I was at when people like were all against me because there's a bunch of Patriots fans there and they were all trolling me that the Rams only scored 3 stinking points in the Super Bowl. And I love that Jourdan goes so deep to expand it. And, you know, is it jumping to conclusions that one game had so much effect on so many other people? I don't think so based on her ramble. Like Jourdan has been plugged in with the Rams for a very long time. She's like with her Play Callers podcast, you know, being at like every Rams press conference, talking to Sean McVay. She probably asked some of the best questions. I love that she's able to expand upon this one game and the impact it had on Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay. It's really the whole league, right? When you know all these teams that try to look for the next Sean McVay, and pretty much if you had a cup of coffee with McVay, you were in line to get a head coaching job. So epic ramble by Jourdan Rodrigue, and I just think you need to watch this before watching the Rams-Eagles game coming up. It's going to be a good one. I'm hoping and I'm thinking the Rams can get a win here. I'm so excited to see Sean McVay with Matthew Stafford go up against Vic Fangio for the first time since that game. That's huge. That's huge. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Again, make sure you go watch the full Heed the Call podcast. They're one of my favorite listens every week. And as always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. And Jourdan Rodrigue, you rock.